Right, afternoon all. I'm going to build this up today. This is the offside of the rear axle. We're going to start off with the back plate, the cam, the brake shoes, the hub reduction, and obviously the half shaft. It should be quite good, this. I quite enjoyed building the other side, and the other side we obviously showed doing the repair to the end cap. This time we don't need to repair the end cap, and the end cap actually looks like it's an uprated version, so we'll have a look at that in a bit. But let's crack on. We'll dig the back plate out. Right, so this is my back plate assembly. Obviously return springs for its shoes, pivot point for its shoes, new oil seal fitted. Should have showed you that really, but you know. Longer term viewers will remember that I've actually welded the back up on this. It'd be lovely if they'd have come off the truck like this, but they didn't. I had to do a bit of welding, and we covered that in an instalment some time ago. After advice of my mate Richard, I didn't tidy the welds up inside because I went too far on the Fleet Master according to him, but anyway, something I've never really forgiven him for. But here we are. So I'm going to get rid of the bench, and we'll chuck it on. I've had the bench out to put the seal in. Right, next job is to get this this big heavy casting sorted out. It bolts onto the back of the back plate arrangement there, the shoe carrier, and it carries the brake chamber here, but it also has the brake camshaft go through it. This truck had been well maintained. These cam bushers that's in this and that were in good order, and the brake cams are in good order, so I've not replaced anything, but it does need a new seal. I think back in the day these would have been felt seals, but I've obviously replaced them with a modern oil seal. Goes in the wrong way. You know, we'd normally put a seal in so that the lip goes in there, stops the grease coming out. So in these, on this side, you reverse it, because what you don't want is it to retain the grease and push the grease onto the shoes. So it's designed to keep the crap out but let the grease out as well under pressure. So I'll get that tapped in, and then we'll get it bolted up. Beauty, that's all it needs. That seal, from memory, I got them from AS Bearings at Buxton, and from memory they were 2 1/16. So yeah, nice, good show. Right, well, I made a bit of a cock up there because I fitted this but didn't press record as I did it, so annoyingly I'd set myself up to do it and then didn't film it. So let's get this camshaft in. So that's the camshaft in. What you have to be careful of with these is if you put the camshaft in, you can't get the slack adjuster on. So you have to withdraw the camshaft slightly to get the slack adjuster on, and that is why the brake shoes and the drum aren't on the other side, because I've got to go to the other shed to get the slack adjuster. But that gives you an idea of where we're going there. Right, well, morning all. In the greatest of YouTube traditions, it's now the following day. Built that camshaft up last night. I'm going to revisit the washer on the end of the slack adjuster, because I suppose I must have them mixed up or something. That one feels a bit too big, but you know, it's going to be one of those snagging jobs that we get onto as we go along. Next job I want to do is get the brake shoes on. We freed all of this up when we stripped it down, so it really is a quick assembly job, this. And you know, I've obviously said that a number of times over the time of doing the job. It pays dividends when you're pulling stuff to bits to get it ready, because we've just been able to crack on so quickly, because we've got sub-assemblies built, we've got back plates repaired, split pinholes drilled out, threads cleaned up, everything freed off. So, as I say, next job is to have a mess about getting these brake shoes on. The brake shoes themselves, pretty good fettle. I think the brakes on this had some work before, you know, shortly before the truck was parked up, because it's got really good linings on it. I'm not about to chuck them away. We've had the rollers out, they're all cleaned up, freed off, ready to go. Right, we're obviously going to go with the bottom shoe first, and Foden's unique design of return spring. Fat bloke lying on the floor. Box. Oh, knock the coffee over. Right, that's the first shoe in place. We've got it just held on that return spring nice and loose. Doesn't look too bad, that. Just need a bit of grease. Not bad. Not bad at all. Always remember to put that locking bolt back in. I think I'm going to have to swing that bottom shoe off a little bit to get him in. Who's got the glasses? Right, I've been and got the glasses. We've basically got a pin there that the shoes pivot on. It's got a groove around the middle of it, and that bolt I've just fastened up sits in the groove and stops it sliding sideways. All I've got to do now is put that bottom return spring in and put the split pins in. Great stuff. Lovely. Right, it's a pretty simple arrangement, this. We've got the nut, there's a spring under the nut. I did another video on this some time ago and showed this brake setup a bit more. I'll see if I can put a picture up or something. So what we're looking for is to get a pin through that stud to retain the nut. So by the looks of it, first job is trim pins down a bit. So we just want to get a pin through this and then just bring that nut out again a little bit just to snug up to it. I would imagine on a cold February night on a loaded tipper these were something of a pain, to be honest, but anyway, especially the bottom one. Now, rightly or wrongly, I'm just going to back my nut off to it just to stop that wiggle, and just make sure it's all secure. There we go, that's us. There's loads of spring in it still. You know, you can see that it's a good idea in terms of the lack of moving parts and all the rest of it, but you've got to be on top of your maintenance and you've got to be quite patient when it comes to putting them pins in. Right, I'll get the bottom one done and then let's start on the hub. Right, so we've cleaned his brake shoes up now, and we will be revisiting them because it's going to be, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, possibly 3 years before we get round to MOTing this, so they will need roughing up again and cleaning again, so I'm not over worried about them at the minute. And obviously when we do rough them up, we'll be putting a mask on because they're asbestos lining, so I don't want to tinker with them too much. Next job is hub and studs. So here's this hub. Again, it's all been cleaned up. We've got the bearing and the hub seal assembly to put in there, but first job is to get them wheel studs in. It's not the heaviest hub of all time, but it's one of the bigger ones and it's still enough weight. Right, so these wheel studs, true classic design. They've got the R in the end to show that the right hand, the other side's obviously got a left in the end. So we've got a thread on this side to retain it in the hub with that nut, and the thread on here is obviously for the wheel nuts. And the bit we've got to watch are these flats, because if you look, they're offset. They're not quite the same flat, and that fits into this groove here. So you've got to be really, really careful that you get these right. And I've seen a few where they've mashed them in and, you know, tried to mash the nut up and what have you, and then they end up, you know, just in a world of pain. So let's make sure we get that right. So as you look at the stud, it's got an offset and it's got like a narrow edge and then a wider edge. And when you drop it in, if you look and carefully just weigh it up, you can see that that wider edge goes out to this ring. Make sure you get it nice and straight, because you don't want to be messing about here. You just want a couple of smacks and straight in. Lovely. That's number one. So if you look at some of these nuts, they've got punch marks. They would have been retained by a hammer and punch. Obviously these days we don't need a hammer and punch, we've got Loctite. So all I'm going to do is put some medium strength Loctite in there just to hold these and gun them down, and that should be good enough. All we're interested in is retaining the nut. We're not torquing anything here, we're just making sure it's tight and it ain't gonna, you know, come off and do some damage. So a quick dribble in each of those with some Loctite will do the job. Right, good enough. These are 3/4 width, you know, 1 5/16", 33mm. This is my brittle 3/4 width, and this mark here is where I was barring over a 14 litre with it, left it on when I started it up, and then it got trapped somewhere. I think it got trapped on the crank damper or something like that, ran on the crank damper, and that's how it got that flat. Yeah, anyway. Can't believe it, can you? Last one. Don't know why I did them in wheel nut sequence. I suppose old habits die hard. Great stuff. So the next job is to get this bearing track in. Obviously we had to pull the bearing track to get the seal carrier out. And again, really fortunate here because, you know, all the bearings in this lorry so far have been really good, and they must have been replaced at some point. But this is an SKF Great Britain track, and she's in outstanding order, quite honestly. So, you know, somebody along the way, whether it be Johnny and Nicklinson or Philly Paul, did quite a bit of maintenance on this old girl. That's gone in a tree. Just used a brass drift there. I don't know what it was, this, but it's got a thread on the end, so it's got a bit of a knurl in there. It was obviously a thing of purpose at some time, but it makes a fantastic bearing drift. Right, I've washed the bearing race out. She's absolutely beautiful. She's spotlessly clean. Just a lovely thing, that. I put these in dry in these. I know everybody's got their own theory. You see a lot of people grease them up with, you know, everything from agricastral to graphite and lithium and one thing and another. This hub will be full of oil. It's got a filler on it. It'll fill up halfway. We're going to turn it by hand. Before this does any work in anger, it'll have been spun to and fro in the garage and by hand and all the rest of it. So the bearing is going to be well oiled. And my other theory is, if you're introducing something like graphite grease or EP, that might not actually mix with the oil that's designed for that phosphor bronze worm gear. So let's stick to what the manufacturer recommendation is on bearing lubrication. But if we just have a quiet minute, a second, that's lovely. So I'm pleased with that. Right, so we need the hub seal arrangement next. So this hub carrier, it carries two seals. There's the first one. He came out when we knocked it about. They're 6-inch outside diameter by 5-inch inside diameter by about 1/2 inch thick. Still readily available. They cost me a tenner a piece. We've obviously put 4 in. These inner seals are slightly trickier to get out than the outer seals, so we'll get a block of wood and a chisel and see if we can just drift him. There we go, he's out. Right, I'm going to run this through the parts wash. Right, I've got my new seals, I got them from A&S. Got me with a few days. I'm just going to give that a quick spray around, a bit of penetrating, just see if it helps to slide them in a bit. Look about right. Great stuff, that appears to have seated really nicely all the way around. It's really nice, that just feels nice, flush. Great stuff. So all I've got to do now is drop this in. Nice and steady. Right, well that's gone in. I can't say I'm dead happy how it went in, but it has gone in. Just, like I say, it was just a lot tighter than the other side, but everything seems okay. Fitted nice and level. We'll put a little bit of grease on that seal when we shove it on, just to make sure she glides over that wear surface. But I need to get tidied up now. Bring some more stuff in from the other shed. Right, let's get this protective layer off. I mean, it's been on there a couple of years, so it should be okay. Quite sure the other side was fine. A wiser man might have just left a lump of tape at the top there, you know, as a bit of a tag, because I don't want to cut into that wear seal shoulder for obvious reasons. I think we need a drop of thinners there. Nearly there, just got that bit there. That's it. So that's all cleaned up really well. Slightly concerned, we've got a bit of a knock on the end of the shaft, which has been done while it's been parked up, so we'll have to have a look at that. I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing shortly. I'm going out on the guzzy this afternoon. It's February and it's a sunny day, and it's the first sunny day we've had all year, so I'm definitely getting out on my motorbike, so the guzzy's having it.